The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is November 20th, 2019, episode 165, and this week, Cyborg, Sons, and Burning Banks. My name's Basil.
Razzle dazzle!
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we report disturbing news from the comforting view of the Canary Cry pews, Basil.
Whoa, nice. Also, we're not going to talk about how adorable little baby Yoda is.
Oh, okay. What's that all about? I don't know what that's about.
He's adorable.
Baby Yoda?
Have you seen Mandalorian?
No.
You haven't, obviously.
No.
Mandalorian, the Star Wars television show on Disney Plus.
Oh, Disney Plus. You took the mark
yes.
of the Disney Plus already, huh?
I didn't, but
okay.
Little nice JPEGs of this cute little baby Yoda are floating around the internet, and my goodness, I just want to smooch all over his face. But
wonderful.
That's not what we're here to talk about, friends.
First time listeners are like, this podcast is very weird.
Speaking of first time listeners, it's time for a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. And if you don't know, Flippy is our colloquial name for all the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs and the meat right off of our bones, Gonz.
Yes. Well, I mean, this is an older story, but
yes.
I think
It's a very old story, but we needed to bring it up because, we just hadn't before. You know,
we hadn't before,
so
and I think there's a tie-in with sharp objects that I want to just mention. But go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so this is laserfocusworld.com. Very, very old article, but I can only imagine. This was written in 2012.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine where the technology is now. Guided by a 3D imaging system, knife-wielding robot debones poultry.
Ooh.
Ugh. Yeah. Guided by 3D vision technology, a robotic cutting arm developed at the Georgia Tech Research Institute can automatically debone chicken and other poultry products.
It will kill.
A different take on...
Sorry, go ahead.
A different take on the robotic surgeon, the so-called intelligent cutting and deboning system automatically performs precision cuts that optimize yield and reduce the risk of bone fragments in the finished product. Quote, each bird is unique in its size and its shape, says Gary McCurry, chief of GTRI's Food Processing Technology Division. Quote, so we have developed the sensing and actuation needed to allow an automated deboning system to adapt to the individual bird, as opposed to forcing the bird to conform to the machine. Don't worry, folks. When the robots take over, they will conform to deboning you. You don't have to conform to them.
Wonderful.
So that'll all be nice.
Yeah, and the reason why I actually found this article today because I was looking at sharp objects. And the reason why I was doing that was
Weird.
because, I know. In a couple days, it's me and my wife's 11th anniversary. And
wow.
Yeah, a long time. And so the gift that you're supposed to give each other traditionally at year 11 is steel. So, of course, my wife, being who she is, she was like, why don't we get each other Damascus steel knives, handmade?
Oh, yeah.
And so we did that actually. It's a pretty cool little pocket knife thing I got, but that reminded us also of a TV show. Go ahead. What?
I was going to say, do you consider that a veiled threat? Because I think I might.
Oh, from like a wife, like, hey, let's get each other knives. No, not my wife.
Yes. Let's make
she's,
sure my knife is bigger and stronger.
Yeah. I think she's fine.
What a romance you have.
Well, we used to, one of the last TV shows that we watched together because we don't really watch TV anymore, because TV's kind of not existent.
Yeah.
On the History Channel, there's a show called Forged with Fire. And it's a TV show about forging swords and knives and stuff. And there's this character or guy named Doug Marcada. He's become popular.
The host, right?
He's one of the hosts, yeah. And they do all these knife tests with all these different objects and jelly and blood-colored paint and all kinds of stuff. And the big line that you get on the show.
In terms of the sharpness and the wieldability of your blade, it will kill.
It will kill, Basil.
It will kill.
It will kill.
Yeah,
so that's
very good.
Anytime we have a reference to sharp objects, that will be our little jingle.
It will kill.
That's a good one to put at the end of the Flippy update jingle.
Just every Flippy update jingle, just it will kill. And yeah, I guess we can expand the application of it will kill to all robots with arms and knives. Anyway, a little detour from our normal thing with a Flippy update, but
I don't think that was a detour at all.
Yeah,
at all. I think we're right on brand.
Okay, well, we're going to get into our first story here.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Quite literally, QZ.com. Why I'm turning my son into a cyborg.
Oh, please do tell.
Yeah, this is actually a few months old as well, but you know how we do. We just keep the news in the loop.
If I haven't heard about it, nobody has.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this hasn't made the rounds in our little niche before. But anyway, this lady here, she's kind of writing from first person. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I have some highlights. But basically, her son was born with autism or was diagnosed with autism. And there's a couple different trigger words here I think that we need to pay attention to. But here we go. For those on the spectrum, fluency in facial expressions doesn't come for free as it does for neurotypicals. Have you heard this term, Basil? Neurotypicals. Have we talked about it?
I saw it. No, I saw it first on this article and it jumped out immediately.
Yeah. So it says, so when my son was diagnosed, I reacted not just as a mom, I reacted as a mad scientist and built him a supercomputer. This isn't the first time I've played mad scientist with my son's biology. When he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I hacked his insulin pump and built an AI that learned to match his insulin to his emotions and activities. I've also explored...
Sounds like it would void the warranty on his insulin pump.
Yeah, to say the least. I've also explored neurotechnologies to augment human sight, hearing, memory, creativity, and emotions. Tiger moms might obsess over the right prep school and extracurriculars for their child, but I say why leave their intellect up to chance? Hand it over to robot. I've chosen to turn my son into a cyborg and change the definition of what it means to be human. But do my son's engineered superpowers make him more human or less? And I love the title of this next section here, titled, How the CIA Taught Me to Smile. Life gave me an amazing, exhausting little boy. It also gave me unique tools to help him overcome his challenges. The first came in the form of a crazy CIA scheme to create an AI to catch liars. Years ago, on my very first machine learning project as an undergrad, I helped build a real-time lie detection system that could work off raw video. The AI we developed learned to recognize the facial expressions of people on camera and infer their emotions. Skip down a little bit here. Before this project, I assumed I'd spend a long neuroscience career sticking electrodes into brains. But watching our algorithms learn such a foundationally human task hooked me on studying how natural and artificial intelligence can work together. Fast forward through the next decade of my academic career, neural coding and cyborgs, and my first few startups, AI for education and jobs. And I had built a reputation as the crazy lady seeking to maximize human potential. When the ill-fated Google Glass, a wearable smartphone masquerading as a pair of glasses, was launched by throwing some guys out of a blimp, I was invited to explore ideas for what could be done beyond social posts and family videos. For a woman that wanted to build cyborgs, there was so much potential. Along with its computing power, Glass had a live camera, a heads-up display, and a combination of voice and head motion controls. Drawing from that old CIA project and my years of machine learning research, I began to build face and expression recognition systems for Glass. Using these augmented reality glasses, I could read people's faces and so many more terrible things. I imagined using them to scan a room, reading expressions and flagging false smiles. LA and DC, I'm looking at you. Wow. Just calling out LA and DC. Yeah, burn. I saw a future where we can access credit scores or pull up Facebook or Grindr accounts or Ashley Madison for CFOs. Haha. The scene could play out, like an episode of Black Mirror with Glass cueing my actions to exploit the emotional vulnerabilities of others. But I wasn't
psycho.
This is unreal. But I wasn't interested in the questionable or downright terrifying applications. I just wanted to give kids like my son greater insight into the people around them. Ugh. So in 2013, she built this concept called super glass, and she gets into that a little bit and the theory of mind and all these things related to that. And I continue on the article here. But the more I experimented, the more I realized that I didn't want to cure my son's autism. I didn't want to lose him and his wonderful differences. Superglass became a tool to translate between his experiences and us neurotypicals, a scientific term that means your brain is boring. It didn't level the playing field. It just gave him a different bat to play with. And it goes on here. A lot of the questions that she brings up later is related to the neuroprosthetics and how ultimately what she's suggesting is that this could be used for very horrible things. But for people that are deficient and who are not neurotypicals, and they want to, or she is saying that she wants to use this technology to bring them to that neurotypical level of experience. But I think summarizing
because I think he skipped over one of the parts. For those who don't know, autism, one of the characteristics of autism is an inability to read facial expressions and social cues and things like that. So
right.
the facial recognition AI was meant to help her son, understand what other people are feeling, because that can be one of the major disconnects between people with autism and apparently a new term, boring brains, neurotypicals.
Right. And she outlines kind of what she sees as a potential for this type of technology for for us neurotypicals. She says, now imagine an app equalizes you. Instead of adjusting the power at different sound frequencies, sliding a controller on this app boosts your attention or dampens your creativity. Add in a boost for memory and you're ready to cram for an exam. Hit the date night preset to stimulate emotion and focus while dampening cognition. If there's a bad romantic comedy in your near future, why be too smart to enjoy it? These abilities could become a Sweet 16 gift from hyper-competitive parents or bought in Silicon Valley strip malls as performance enhancing pick-me-ups. So, look, I think this woman is a CIA shill. What do you think? What do you think, Pascal?
Well, it's very interesting, and I don't know. I'm kind of fixated on the autism part of this.
Yes,
because
the Hegelian dialectic.
First of all, there's a lot of the Hegelian dialectic, which includes, which we've been seeing more recently, and I'm having a hard time trying to, because I want to empathize with these people. I'm having a hard time understanding it though. But it's, there's this movement to, I guess in their words would be to destigmatize autism as a disease. And it's, there's a lot of talk about not wanting to make their children unautistic.
Right.
And they, I wouldn't want a child without autism, that kind of thing.
Right. But then
now I don't know if this is necessarily like a legit shift, or if it's just, you have a child with autism, so you kind of have to shift your mindset about it just for survival purposes.
Yeah. Coping.
And I want to be, I don't know, I feel compelled to be sensitive towards that point of view, but it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around.
Well, it's one of those things that shows how the tools that we have, it's like human nature, man. We can't not do it, because this lady specifically at this time in history has access to all these different technologies and the ability to study it and be hands-on. Now she has a reason, a purpose to do it for her own son, recognizing clearly the implications of how it could be abused and how awful and invasive it is, and being transparent
Yeah.
about that at least, but
The cyborgism, you mean?
yeah, and
Yeah.
but
And just to hit the point, because I know there's some listeners yelling at me right now. There is a connection with autism and the accepting of autism connected with the whole vaccine thing.
right.
Where, if we come to a place where we accept autism as just another variant of normal, then the argument, vaccines cause autism isn't a valid argument anymore.
Right.
And then we're just sticking everybody with needles. Well, this is very interesting. And again, the cyborg movement being led by, people, neurotypicals with the what's the word? Not excuse, but the reasoning that it's for health benefits before everything else, which, has worked so far.
It has. But yeah, it's interesting that she's transparent about her CIA work too. And you know that.
Oh, totally.
And that's
the connection with this.
The freaky part about it is how much of what she's saying. Why would she, admit that she's worked with the CIA and then talk about all the horrible?
Because that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing to normies. When you say you work, the CIA are the good guys. If you work for the CIA, then you're a good guy. Okay, give me your cyborg implants, please.
But then she goes into all the potential dangers and threats of this kind of technology.
Yeah, but it's kind of tongue in cheek, as it always is.
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind
true.
of tongue in cheek, like, oh, I know there's the crazies out there who think this is a bad idea, so let me just get ahead of that. That's what it is. And we see it in a lot of the transhumanist articles that we read. They'll mention the threats, and it's usually done as like, well, some people think this is bad because of this. Or they'll just say like, or the silly concept of, robots overthrowing us and taking over our brains like Skynet. Poof. Well, anyways, I'm going to put more electrodes in my brain.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
let's move on.
Okay. Let's see. What do we got
Time.
next here?
I got it. Here we go. The Portal
The Portal
Center.
Burn it all.
Yes, burn it all. This is very interesting. Theportalcenter.com, which I've never heard of before. Headline, and there's a reason why it's on this weird outlet. But the headline is, Iranian protesters set fire to the central bank in Bebahan. Iranian protesters set fire to the central bank of Iran in the city of Bebahan in Khuzestan province in demonstrations against the government's decision to hike the price of gasoline. A surprise decision to ration and raise fuel prices by 50% has led to long queues at gas pumps and protests around the country. President Rouhani argues the move is for the good of the people. Demonstrations broke out around Iran Friday night after the government raised the price of fuel by at least 50%, the country's state news agency reports. In the city of Surjan, in the city of Surjan in central Iran, demonstrators tried to set a fuel warehouse on fire in protests that police described as, quote, severe. Yeah, no kidding. The semi-official news agency that was a little severe. The semi-official news agency INSA reported that one civilian was killed and several others injured. Acting Governor Muhammad Mubahadabi. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Wow,
some people have explored.
Oh, no.
I think that was actually pretty good.
Okay.
I think I got it that
All right.
second time. Said some people had exploited the calm gathering and had destroyed public property and damaged fuel stations. He added it was unclear whether the victim had been shot dead by security forces or were trying to bring back calm to the city. Protesters also gathered in a dozen other cities. Some crowds attempted to block traffic. State media reported the protests had ended by midnight. Authorities raised fuel prices and instituted rationing measures without warning earlier that day. There's quite a bit more of this article, but to sum it up for everybody, there are riots breaking out all across Iran, and specifically there's been like 100 banks set on fire, including the central bank of Iran in Tehran, the capital.
Yeah.
And this is wild. And in response to that, the
Iran
government
shut down the internet?
has... Yes, they shut down the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the other article. There's an MSN.com article as well that I meant to read. Yeah, more official.
Third paragraph down is kind of where...
Third paragraph down. Here we go. But Iranians with access to satellite communication have managed to transmit images and videos to human rights activists in the Iranian diaspora. And the crisis is clearly far deeper than the government is letting on. Across the country, government offices, police stations, and a major oil depot have been burned down. Independent reports indicate a death toll of at least 36 people. Government officials say more than 100 banks have been set ablaze, including the Central Bank of Iran and Tehran. They shut down the internet. 95% of the country doesn't have internet. It's just those with satellite internet able to get info out. And that's why we're not seeing a lot of mainstream reporting. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
And,
100 banks on fire. Can you imagine 100 banks on fire and burned down in America? Come on, that's insane.
Wild. It is out of control. And Gons, I smell CIA in this.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, take a resistance movement to a spike in gas prices, and just with all it takes is a little bit of tinder and a little spark, and that's how you burn down 100 banks.
a little tinder, huh?
Yeah, I totally see. I have no doubt CIA is involved in this, and it's just part of a destabilization thing.
It's interesting because the MSN article mentions the central bank burning down, but they don't. You know, their narrative, the mainstream media, they always have the narrative of the gas price being the main reason why everyone is up in arms, but it doesn't make any sense. Totally. Like, the gas price is going up. Let's burn banks. You know, I guess
everything.
Burn everything. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot more going on, and this is
totally
ties into some uncomfortable subjects.
Because in the end, I mean, the U.S. profits from this. First of all, Rothschilds, I don't have the data right in front of me, but I'm just going by memory. The Rothschilds only in recent decades made it into Iran as far as central banking goes. I could be corrected on that, but that's my memory of it at least. And so, to suddenly have 100 of them burned down is going to be a huge destabilizing force in the region. And, I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly we have to go bring a little bit of freedom over there.
Yeah. I remember we've
in cheeky parlance,
right. We've reported on the places, the nations that don't have central banks being kind of I think some people have reported 3. There's 3 or 4 countries left, but in the year 2000, the list of countries without central banks was Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, and Iran. So the list of 7, I think, is down to 3 now. But that's, it just goes to show that, if you don't comply, and it's easy for them to be able to use these tensions and again, that we mentioned the Hegelian dialectic earlier, but this is the same sort of thing where they're in there, they can provoke a kind of uprising to burn the place down. And it seems like that is the theme, to burn everything down, as certain magazine covers and all kinds of stuff have indicated. But this is it's something to pay attention to, because if it ever gets to that point in the United States, as it has in other countries, this is partly why Venezuela, Chile's up in arms now. Oh
my gosh, the whole world is up in arms. Not to mention Hong Kong, where they're fighting their government with bows and arrows.
Yeah, it's Hunger Games for real.
Yeah. So, by the way, I'm just doing a quick search. I don't know if the Rothschilds actually made it into into Iran yet. I'm seeing articles even as recent as 2015 talking about how the Rothschilds want to get into the central bank. So this very much could be a Rothschild operation to burn down Iran's central banks so they can
control. In. Yeah, more control maybe. Yeah, it's possible. Certainly, upheaval is the easiest way to make their way in. So yeah, there you go. I mean, I don't know. Pray for people. Pray for the Iranians.
Yeah,
and
totally. Yeah, interesting. More unrest. Okay, Gons, why don't you give us our last story here?
The four horsemen of the technopolis.
Anytime you see the four horsemen, it's something special.
So special. This is not cool. Forbes.com, astronomers despair as SpaceX Starlink train ruins observation of near galaxies.
Oh, Starlink, come on.
Yeah. Okay, space.
For those who don't remember, Starlink is the web of satellites Elon Musk is putting up to bring internet to the entire Earth.
Sure. All those people that want internet, some people have said the whole universe.
We all want internet.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? 42,000 satellites is kind of the plan, but even the satellites that they have up there now are causing issues.
Yeah, and this it says here, November 18th, 2 astronomers checked in on the remotely operated telescope in Chile, expecting to see some images of distant stars and galaxies. Instead, they saw a train of SpaceX satellites crossing the night sky, a worrying sign of what might be to come for astronomy. Quote, here we are. We had a second half of the night observing, and then we kind of just see all these streaks, says Cliff Johnson from Northwestern University in Chicago, one of the 2 astronomers. Quote, we put 2 and 2 together, and it was like, oh yeah, it's the train of all the Starlink satellites. They're super bummed about it. That is really weird. What is Elon Musk hiding? Why is he not allowing astronomers to explore the deep unknown?
He's putting up a net of interference, so astronomers can't keep looking into deep space. I think Elon's got something to hide. Maybe they were getting too close to finding his home planet.
They should put like a Elon face on all the satellites that fly by. So every time
have them
they
fly in a pattern of Elon face.
Yeah, something like that. And then so the astronomers are like, oh yeah, that's right, Elon.
You could write little messages. It's like skywriting.
Prince of the power of the air, Basil. What are we getting into?
That's right.
Who is Elon Musk? Is he one of the 4 horsemen? Is he the Antichrist? Is he the false prophet?
He's something. He's just a lizard person, man. Just a lizard person trying to mind his own business. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Here's the thing. We have a patreon.com/CCNT where you can get extended reports, another episode of Canary Cry News Talk every single week. So make sure to go check that out. This week, we're talking about, we're going to be reading some inspirational quotes created by AI, or maybe not so inspirational. Very funny. Scientific American. We got a little 5G update. We're talking about some laser wars in Chile, and we're one step closer to an Iron Man suit. So we're going to be talking about all that over at patreon.com/CCNT. Now, here's the thing. If you still got friends and loved ones getting their news from non-Canary Cry News Talk sources, here's the thing. You got to grab them by the cage and shake it.
It's got to be biblical.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
It will kill.
All right, everybody, there you go. Again, remember patreon.com/CCNT. We've got some great rewards and stuff over there. The extended reports, a whole nother episode every single week. And you help us keep the show going. We don't got to sell ads. We don't think that that's the best use of our time. And if you agree, head over to patreon.com/CCNT for your extended reports. Okay, everybody. Thanks. That's all, folks. Any last words, Gons?
No, it will kill.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next week. But until then, think outside the cage.